The winter wind cut through the bustling Chicago train station like shards of ice. People hurried past, their footsteps echoing off the concrete floors, faces buried in scarves and determination. In the corner, huddled under a tattered blanket that had once been blue, sat a woman named Grace Porter. Her hair, streaked with gray and dirt, framed a face that had once been radiant but now bore the harsh lines of exhaustion and loss. She clutched a crumpled cardboard sign that read, "Lost everything. Anything helps. God bless." But no one stopped. No one really saw her. Not the way she used to be seen, before life had pulled the rug out from under her, leaving her stranded in a world that seemed indifferent to her pain. Grace's stomach growled, a hollow sound that seemed to echo off the walls, mingling with the rhythmic rumble of arriving and departing trains. She had been living like this for months, bouncing between shelters in the cold streets, trying not to lose her dignity to desperation. But on this frigid December morning, the loneliness was more suffocating than the cold. Just as she began to close her eyes and surrender to the numbness, she heard soft, hesitant footsteps approaching. Two small hands tugged at the edge of her blanket, and two pairs of bright eyes stared up at her with an innocence that seemed impossible amidst the harshness of the station. "Excuse me," a tiny voice said. Are you alone?" Grace looked down, startled. The two girls standing before her looked no older than 7 or 8, with tangled hair and cheeks flushed from the cold. They wore mismatched coats, slightly too big, but clean and patched in all the right places, a sign of a loving but struggling home. Before Grace could answer, one of the girls spoke again, her voice trembling with a mixture of hope and fear. "You need a home, and we need a mommy," she said simply, her twin sister nodding solemnly beside her. Grace's breath caught, her heart thudded in her chest, a wild, erratic rhythm she hadn't felt in years. She blinked, unsure if she had heard correctly. A home? A mommy? The words felt like a lifeline tossed across the chasm of her despair. If this story makes you believe in the power of kindness and second chances, please hit the like button, share it, comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. The girls introduced themselves as Anna and Faith Montgomery. Their father had died unexpectedly a year ago, and their mother had abandoned them soon after, leaving them to navigate the world in the shadow of grief and fear. They had survived on the generosity of neighbors, school lunches, and whatever scraps they could find. But today, seeing Grace, they felt something they hadn't felt in months: hope. Grace's first instinct was to shrink back. She had no home, no money, no stability. How could she care for anyone else when she could barely care for herself? Her hands shook as she touched the girl's small, cold fingers. Yet, as she looked into their hopeful eyes, something deep inside her stirred. It was a flicker, a whisper of the woman she used to be, who had once dreamed not just for herself but for others. The girls insisted on sitting with her, sharing the small warmth of the blanket as they whispered about school, their favorite books, and Christmas dreams. They didn't see her disheveled hair or the fact that her shoes had holes in the soles. They saw a potential mommy, a person who could love them unconditionally. Grace, in turn, saw in them a mirror of her own lost childhood, a chance to heal not just them, but herself. Over the next few days, Grace found herself visiting the Montgomerys' temporary shelter at the local community center. It was a modest place, with thin walls and creaking floors, but to Grace, it was a sanctuary of sorts. She helped the girls with their homework, cooked simple meals, and even managed to scrape together a few dollars to buy small gifts for them. With every smile, every laugh, every whispered thank you, she felt a warmth that had long been absent from her life. But life didn't ease up just because hearts were healing. Grace struggled to find a job, her past homelessness and gaps in employment making her applications almost always rejected. Nights were the hardest, when she returned to the station, curled up in her blanket, wondering if she was truly capable of becoming the person the girls needed her to be. And yet Anna and Faith never doubted her. Every morning, they would greet her with hugs and chatter, their innocence pushing her to fight, to endure, to believe. One particularly bitter night, Grace sat on the cold bench outside the train station, tears freezing on her cheeks, thinking she might have to give up. But then she felt the small hands of the twins slip into hers. "Don't cry, Mommy," Faith whispered. "We believe in you. You can do this." It was the push she needed. The next morning, Grace woke up with a new determination. She went to every employment office, filled out every form, and finally landed a position at a small diner downtown. The pay was modest, but it was enough to begin the slow climb back to stability. Slowly but surely, she saved enough to rent a small apartment, just big enough for the three of them, with space for laughter and tears alike. The transformation was gradual, filled with small victories and setbacks. But Grace's heart swelled with pride each time she saw Anna and Faith reading books at the kitchen table, or helping each other with homework, or laughing together over the simplest things. She realized that love wasn't about perfect circumstances, it was about showing up day after day, even when life seemed determined to knock you down. One snowy evening, as they decorated their tiny Christmas tree with handmade ornaments, Grace looked at the girls' beaming faces and felt a surge of gratitude so profound it nearly overwhelmed her. She had come to the station that winter, expecting nothing, carrying only pain and exhaustion. And yet, here she was, holding hands with two little girls who had given her the greatest gift of all, a second chance at life, a reason to hope, and a love that was fiercely, beautifully real. Life didn't promise perfection, but for the first time in years, Grace felt whole. She knew the road ahead would have challenges, but she also knew they would face them together. The warmth of the apartment, the laughter echoing off the walls, and the trust in Anna and Faith's eyes became a new kind of home, one built not on bricks or wealth, but on love, resilience, and the courage to believe in miracles. If this story touched your heart, please leave a comment below and let us know what part moved you the most. And if you felt the hope, the warmth, and the power of family, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Years later, Grace would often tell the twins about that day at the train station, how their small act of courage and love had changed the course of her life. And every time she told the story, Anna and Faith would smile, knowing that the words they spoke in innocence, "You need a home and we need a mommy," were not just a plea but a promise that love, no matter how small or unexpected, could heal the deepest wounds and turn strangers into family. Grace never forgot the shiver of fear she felt when life seemed impossible. She never forgot the chill of the winter wind that had once been her only companion. But more importantly, she never forgot the warmth of two little hands reaching for hers, reminding her, and all of us, that sometimes home isn't a place. It's the people who believe in you when you stop believing in yourself. And in that tiny apartment in Chicago, with laughter ringing through every corner, Grace, Anna, and Faith lived proof that miracles often come in the quietest, most unexpected moments.